Welcome to the Mystic. The purple ones, you see our first one, over next to Bryn, is Forbidden Knowledge. 0 resources, commits for 1 book. 4 secrets, if it has no secrets, discard it. Exhaust Forbidden Knowledge and take 1 horror. Move 1 secret from Forbidden Knowledge to your resource pool as a resource.
On the surface, this card doesn't look good. What do you guys think?
When you play Agnes Baker, it becomes good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bryn picked it up. This card is insane with Agnes.
It's for the core set Purple Investigator. When she takes horror, she gets to damage things near her. Mm-hmm. So for her,
Free
this card is good. Damage that doesn't require a chit draw.
Yeah.
And if you've watched any of the other videos, which you
That's
should go back
important.
and watch the blue one at the very least, because we discussed a lot of concepts in that one that we talk about later. Free damage is really good.
Yeah. Like, if you're... I mean, like, and also, like, on that line of if you're not playing Agnes, I feel like this card is just...
It's not great then. A lot of the purple characters have high,
I would actually say it's
like,
bad.
Yeah, I would
high
also say it's
sanity
bad.
pools.
Yeah, if it's... but with Agnes, it's...
Unless we get something
Yeah.
like... unless we get some kind of like guard dog, but for purple. And for Bryn.
Oh, that would be like a guard beast, and it's like, you know, like a moon beast.
No, it'd be some kind of garbage cultist. That
That's
you like
true.
bound
Yeah.
up and you like have him strapped to a board and you carry around like a shield.
Yeah, and you have to put
That's
Doom on him,
sweet.
too, for some reason.
Yeah, blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
like
Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to say about this card. I think it's real good on Agnes Baker,
And really
It's
bad if it's not.
good on pretty much everybody else.
Yeah. Holy Rosary.
This card is one of the just good cards.
Yeah, 2 resources, adds a
Not
brain,
great,
and
but-
2,
No,
it
it's
gives you plus 1
Yeah.
brain, and just 2 sanity. Which isn't a problem for
In purple, it's
purple.
like almost +1 to all your stats, kind of.
Yeah, for purple, like the big thing you're looking for out of this card is +1 brain. A lot of your cards care about testing brain to do things instead of what the normal thing was.
For purple, actually have it like occupying the necklace slot is a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Or the accessory slot, because that's what I think is what Agnes's thing does.
Yeah, it does.
It's accessory. And I believe there's some good purple accessories later, but
Yeah, this is like the class that uses the accessories to...
and the spell slots.
Yeah.
At least until some of these later Carcosa cards come out.
Yeah,
But yeah, like this card's just, it does...
it's
Good things.
Yeah, like it's a ball of
Look,
stats.
we
It's
can only
probably worth more
say
than
so
2
much
money.
about this. It has 1 line of text. It's like 4
Like
words.
it's good.
You know, what do you want from us? What do you want from us? Well, here's...
This card's pretty good.
Now here's where we start getting into the more... Like, this is like a basic
This is
Mystic
purple
card.
staple
But
card.
this is where they start to get interesting, and this is why, like...
We're gonna have a lot of talk about this one just because it's the first example of some really core purple concepts.
And it's also then, to me, it goes... What I really like about this one is it goes further from the concept of just Arkham Horror, the card game. But spells in every Arkham Horror game have had a downside, which they should, the flavor of them.
Yep.
And I really like the way they done it in this one.
Yeah.
So Shriveling, 3 resources, commits for a fist, uses 4 charges, spend 1 charge, fight, uses brain instead of fist, deals +1 damage, and if an evil symbol is revealed, take 1 horror. So
this card I think is actually it's good that it's first because it's a very strong way to introduce the purple card concepts and card design. It's level 0. It's a little bit expensive on the 3 money. It has limited uses. It's 4 charges, and then but lets you fight, which isn't something that you would normally do as a purple character. It's not something you would. I mean, it's something that's common in Arkham or in Arkham games in general. It's like the spellcaster can generally fight, but they're also like they can kind of do anything, and this supports that.
They can do anything.
The important thing, though, is that instead of fighting with your punch, you get to use your brain, which is a common. You're going to see that a lot with purple cards. They get to use their brain instead of other stats.
Skills, yeah.
Yeah, and then it punishes you for drawing what the internet has affectionately dubbed bullshit tokens. Some of them actually like reward you for it, kind of. I
Yeah,
think there's one or
this
two.
one could reward you for it if you're playing Agnes Baker.
Yeah.
And then some of them can
Like
actually
you draw
be
the
really
token,
brutal,
you deal
too.
1 damage for free, and then even if you failed, you still deal the damage. But if you're playing everyone else, it is just punishment.
I think actually purple might get my vote for the most flavorful class in that they're tapping into the eldritch and otherworldly forces, and
I love the cards that had Doom on them for the purple ones. Those are really cool.
they're very high risk and very high reward. You can do anything, like as a general rule, a little bit better than other classes even, because you only have to focus on your 1 stat to be good.
Yeah. With that said, though, there also is limited use. So
Yes.
it's like, eventually you could just, if you get, the deck gives you a lot of monsters, especially if you're playing solo purple, you can just eventually run out of shriveling spells, and you're like, what do I do now? But that doesn't stop the card from being good. That's more of like a deck building.
No, shriveling is like one of the building blocks for the purple class.
Scrying. One resource, use 3 charges, exhaust it, and spend a charge. Look at the top 3 cards of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck, return them to the top of that deck in any order.
I think the best use of this card is to be able to look at the top cards of the Mythos deck and then decide who gets what.
Especially in a 3-player game, it's just perfect. It's like, all right, so...
Or even with 2, you get to decide.
But like, Mal, I like it with 3 because it matches perfectly.
Because the numbers check out.
Yeah.
This card combos very well with some other purple cards, but it's also a little weird in that it's like actually not that high impact, whereas a lot of the other purple cards are like, they're high drop, potentially high drawback or high drawback, and then they're very, very impactful. Very, very good. Whereas this one's just like, it's not great, but it's good.
Yeah.
It just lets you mess around with what the game's doing or, what your teammates are doing.
Like, I also could, like, the other fringe case that I find it could be good is, like, you're nearing the end of your deck and you're like, oh shit, I haven't drawn my weakness yet, let's just make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
But, like,
most of the
even
time
then-
I'm not too concerned about
Yeah,
that.
also, like, you gotta have to, like, when you're playing, assume your weakness is always coming.
This card I probably wouldn't put in most purple decks I build, but for core set only, it has a very, very powerful interaction with a spell we're going to get to later, Water Protection. Which is probably the best purple card.
The card is very
But
strong.
we'll talk about that in a bit.
Arcane Studies adds send a resource to increase brain or book.
Now this one I think is the second best one because purple only has to care about one stat.
I support that.
So being able to buff your brain is always very strong for purple.
And also, like, if it also is great because if you don't want to spend one of your charges on your Rite of Seeking, you can just pump up your book a bit just to,
It does allow for a little bit more flexibility. The downside to this one is, again, it's very expensive for a lot of your spells. Like, if you're trying to use your, like, if you want to play a Shriveling and attack and then, like,
purple cards,
get +2, that's like 5.
Yeah, purple cards are expensive.
Yeah.
So, like, that's all, I think that's...
you don't have a ton of resources floating around.
I think it's not as good as the green one because you don't have as much money just there.
Yeah, just to burn.
Yeah.
You're not looking for ways to spend your money, but like, this isn't an awful way to do it.
I think this is the second best one because it buffs a stat that you actually, you care about all the time.
Yeah. It buffs the stat you care
The
about.
stat.
Alright, we got...
Purple's weird in that, like, the other classes have a stat that they care about, generally,
Yeah,
and then
like
they have to be, like,
yeah.
cognizant of the others.
And purple can just say...
And purple's just like, I'm good at brain.
Yeah, I'm fine. Arcane Initiate.
Power for power, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah. One resource commits for a brain. After it enters play, place 1 doom on it. Exhaust it, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell, and draw it, then shuffle your deck.
This card's very good, especially with some of the layer cards that were released. But just being able, it's like an old book of lore you can use every turn that soaks damage for you, worst case scenario. The putting a doom on it can be very scary to new players, I think.
But there's a trick to it.
Yeah, but like, who cares if you're just gonna use it to win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the just...
The tempo you gain from it is probably worth the 3 actions that you're giving up with your 1 doom.
And like, also then with cards like this, and especially in purple, pay attention to your agenda. Because if... or act, whichever one the bad one is. If you see it's about to tick over, just play it on the
Is it
turn.
not the act one that's the bad one?
No, act is us. Agenda is like the bad guy's agenda.
Okay, I thought agenda was like us because we were trying to do it.
No,
and
agenda's
act
always the
was
bad
just what
one.
was
Agenda
happening.
is
The act
like
one has to do with the
corp
king of
from
yellow.
Netrunner.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, that's like the tattered.
So like,
king, right?
if there's one more turn, if you have like if it's going to advance next turn, play all your doom cards then, because they all get wiped.
Yep.
So that's like another thing that I imagine a lot of players when they first are reading this card do not know about that interaction. But that's what breaks these cards because then it stops the punishment from being a punishment.
These cards are the reason I don't play purple, and it's because I would use them to try and burn my teammates.
There's worse cards than that.
There are worse cards than this one.
Let's imagine Bryn with a blood pact.
There's a reason that I don't play purple, and it's because I want to have people who still want to play the game with me.
Like, can you just imagine what kind of chaos Bryn would get up to
Hey,
with
you
a
can only
blood
do it
pact?
once per test. You can only have 3 doom per turn. Like in theory, so you have like 3 things to do per turn.
Yeah.
You have to make it a brain or like a punch test.
Going back to this card, the bottom ability, like we said for the old book of lore, or whatever it is, anything that lets you help you find the cards you need is good.
Yeah.
And especially because it's not that bad of a cost.
No, and like don't
do what Bryn does.
don't do what I would do. And don't be worried about the fact that I'm worried about that, because it's just the way I play.
Yeah.
Just don't play like me.
Just be a team player.
Yeah, like play for your team and not.
Don't be
the
like
thing you
Bryn.
think
This
is
has
right.
been a public service announcement. This is one
Identity?
of the strongest cards.
This card
in
is
the game.
insane.
Yeah, this card is crazy good.
Again, this is one of those cards that scales with your difficulty, but like at pretty much any difficulty in the game, this card is actually. I mean, like,
Mache might be the most powerful card in the core set, but one of the best, most important cards in the core set, not most powerful. But that's because of lack of options for weapons in general. And Leo DeLuca is very flexible, but he costs a lot. This card is just like, it's insane.
Especially it gets even crazier too when you know your scenarios. And there's some that are like, if there's no clues on this location, advance the act and win.
Yep.
And you can just be like, see ya, game.
Especially when you're playing with multiple players, you can go first, do this, and then like, if there's actually a mess, your teammates can have like 6 actions where to clean it up.
It's
like,
it's incredibly strong.
Yeah, the only
card
thing that's bad about this card is that sometimes you draw an Ancient Evil, and then your team loses 9 actions for it.
I'm not gonna lie, like I would be
or 6 or 3.
I don't want them to print more experienced version of this card.
No, I feel like this card is. I feel like you can't make it better without because I feel like it's completely fair with how it is right now, but it's also really good.
Yeah,
This card isn't quite like higher education good, but like it's close.
It's strong.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't cost you any resources. It costs you 1 action, 1 card, which is like the minimum you're playing.
Just like
you're
the
paying for a
going
card.
rate.
Yeah, and then like you draw an encounter card, which realistically like might actually do nothing. Be fair, it could also just like screw you
Especially
over.
if you can like if you're playing the core set and you have scry and you can be like here's
or
a
ward of protection.
Or like the card we're gonna get to next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then it gives you
It's,
2 clues just for free. You don't have to make any tests.
very
You
good.
just
Yep.
you get them. Like that's +1 action already. It's so good.
I think if they made an experienced version, the only thing they could really change is the number of symbols on it for when you discard it. But even that isn't great because this is not a card you should be discarding.
Yeah.
I see like maybe if they want to have you
Like create
discover 3 clues and draw 2 cards,
Or what if it was
but that would I just would not.
yeah,
play
like
it.
I
Yeah,
just
the only
wouldn't-
thing
I just
is that,
wouldn't
like-
pay for that, right?
yeah. Like the only thing there's nothing
Like-
that can make this
If you discard it for 2 brain or 2 book,
or like
I'm thinking about maybe
you
discarding.
can't
it for
change this
something.
card too much without making it broken
No.
or useless.
Yeah.
But it's very very good.
Yeah.
The card is
Your
strong.
purple deck should have 2 of these
And
things.
it's also got a quote from H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu.
And
on
the
the
art
bottom,
is
which
sick.
is great.
And the art is sick. I like
Man, this
it.
card is actually
There's
like a 10 out of 10.
like no bad part about this card.
Yeah.
Except that sometimes it kills you, but that's okay. You're playing purple. Your cards are sometimes going to kill you.
You just gotta get good.
It happens.
Ward of Protection. 1 resource. Commits for a wild, but don't.
Yeah.
Fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect. Then take 1 horror.
Yeah, so
Which
this card
is
is
really a downside. and
super
one of the reasons
good.
Agnes is the top
Yeah.
tier investigator. Like
super good with
top tier
the Drawn to
investigator.
the Flame because maybe you just paid 1 resource and discarded 2 cards to get 2 clues.
Yeah.
if you're lucky, you have to deal damage and kill.
And then-
Yeah, and if you're playing the right investigator, you just deal 1 damage to someone at your space too.
So the 2 things that it doesn't, so right now it doesn't stop your weakness and it doesn't stop enemies that show
Yeah.
up.
But
It doesn't detract from this card because enemies
No.
can be solved a lot easier than a treachery card that can.
you get a lot more time to figure
like even
that
something
out.
like Frozen Fear that takes away a third of your turn potentially.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, okay, when I'm playing core set, like this card and scrying, like 10 out of 10 combination, you just sit there and wait till you see an Ancient Evils, and you're like, no,
Yeah. No, thank you.
no, thank you, game.
Yeah.
How about I get an extra third return? How do you like that?
This card is just very good. It's also very good in the Safina Rousseau deck
Yep. Yeah.
because you can play more than 1 of them.
This is another purple card that I would consider like you should play 2. In your
Yeah,
deck.
if you have access,
yeah.
if you have
Yeah,
access
yeah.
to purple cards at all, you
if
should be
someone
playing
in your
these.
party can play
Yeah.
purple cards, you should play 2. Word
they're
of
very
protection.
good. They're level 0, so you don't pay anything for them. They commit for a wild, which is good, but you shouldn't be using that part of the card
I can see an argument like
unless
if
you're winning the game that turn.
I could see an argument for Drawn to the Flame, like if you can splash purple, but you also have like Rex on your team, you don't need Drawn
Yeah.
to
You
the
don't
Flame.
need that. Yeah.
No,
But like
Ward of Protection's always good
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
stops one of the game's turns, right?
It's
Well,
not
like
as
part,
big a
it's like
swing
it
as Drawn
eats,
to the
it
Flame
eats
is,
like
but
part of the game's turn, depending on how many
Players,
players you're
yeah.
playing with. If you're playing with just one player, the card it basically says one take an extra turn.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the opposite
yeah.
of Ancient Evils.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're playing
Like
by
it's-
yourself.
If you counter an Ancient Evil, it's like taking 2 extra turns. Wow.
So good. The value!
The card is very strong.
Yeah, you'll see us play that one a lot.
Blinding Light, 2 resources, commits for brain and foot. Evade. It's like the Shriveling, but with evade. So the downside of this one, so it's a good. There's not much to say about its ability because it's basically just you can't run fast because you're a mystic. So, but now you can because you think about it.
Because you thought
Losing an
about it.
action is a lot harsher than
Yes.
like
And taking 1 damage, yeah.
Yeah.
This one also like is only a 1-shot thing. That being said, like still don't feel bad about playing it, especially since there's an upgrade version that's very, very good. Like dealing a damage to enemy evades like not negligible. It pads your deck out for like the arcane shit. It's a fine card.
It's a spell, which is good because you need to play a high density of those to make a lot of your other cards good.
Yeah.
There isn't too much to say about this one. Like the risk is usually worth the reward. It's just it's not great. It's just fine.
Like it does the
good
thing
filler.
you care about is purple, in that the game's like make foot, and you're like no, brain.
Despite having like no obvious downside, it's just like I find its effects just not worth a card.
If you're playing as Agnes, it's not terrible because it's a way to heal brain damage, which you take a lot of.
I feel like it
Yeah.
should have 2 brain symbols on it
It
for
should.
what it does.
Yeah,
Or it should like heal 2 horror or something. It's just there's nothing flashy
just-
about it. It's
yeah.
not like
not quite.
great. It's
not quite
even
enough.
quite good. It's just not quite with the card. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there and
Yeah, like again, if you're playing Agnes and you're playing with only core sets, I think it's pretty okay.
You know, like it's not a
Because-
card I'd ever feel bad about
No.
playing. It's just not.
No, it's
There's
just that you
better
could,
options.
You could do more.
yeah.
Like again, if you're playing with 1 core set or even 2 core sets and you're playing Agnes, this card doesn't suck. There are almost no ways to heal horror damage in the core. So
100%
that makes this
pretty
card much better.
Yeah.
Once you start adding other sets, there are very rapidly become like
better options.
There's an upgraded
there's
version.
a
I don't know what
whole
this
lot
one
of,
does, but
whole lot of options.
that's not worried for the core review.
No,
So
outside of the core.
this card to me I thought was called Amnesia because of Eldritch Horror, but it's not. It's apparently called Mind Wipe. 1 resource, 1 experience, brain and fist. Fast. Play after a phase begins. Choose a non-elite enemy at your location. Treat that chosen enemy's printed text box as if it were blank until the end of the phase.
This is so good. Why are you playing this?
Because it costs 5, I can't play it.
Who cares?
I can't play it.
Okay. Play a different character.
I'm not playing
idiot.
purple.
Yeah, the upgraded version of Water Protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stops enemies too. So, Mind Wipe to me doesn't do.
Okay, so yeah, it's got this non-elite part of the text box that just makes the card not good.
Yeah, it's like what am I?
Normal enemies, like, what do they have in their text box? They're like, I have Hunter, and you're like, cool, I'll kill you.
Yeah,
Retaliate.
They have Retaliate, sometimes that one matters, but it's not worth a card.
This card's not awful,
No.
but like
It's not-
again,
yeah,
it's not
good
good.
either.
It's just it's like the Fearless is a little underwhelming.
Yeah, it's like, it's a spell, and again, like, you want to play a bunch of those if you're playing purple, because
It's fast.
cards
it's
care
fast,
about
and you can
those.
also play it after a phase begins. So like if something shows up, you can be like,
Yeah, there's some monsters that like do things when they hit
Yeah.
you, or whatever, like discard random card or some garbage. You can be
Yeah.
like, I don't want to deal
yeah,
with that.
this,
This
is, this is
turn.
the random
discard
card I'm
this card.
I'd
discarding.
like
Yeah.
to just take a heart damage or whatever this turn.
Yeah,
Like it has its uses. It's
just not great.
yeah.
I feel like this is like when you know, like if you scenario dependent as well. When you're like, oh, this thing's coming up that I'll need to deal with. Let's just run 1 copy of Mind Wipe.
It's
just
another
in
card
case.
that's a little bit better than like other card, a little bit better than normally is an Agnes because of her signature asset, the Heirloom of Hyperborea.
Yeah, it replaces
lets you
itself.
draw a card.
Yeah.
Like this card gets a lot better when you cycle it.
Most cards get better when they say draw a card on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the upgraded version of Blinding
This
Light.
is like the good one.
This one's so much better. It
Yeah.
costs 1 less. Like you get to do 2 damage instead of 1, and like if you fail or if you get the thing, you even or a bullshit token, you even get to take a horror as Agnes. It's so
Yeah.
good. You just like you can fail the test and just deal, or you can like pass the test, get one of the bullshit tokens, and just like do 3 damage to him
Yeah.
and kill the enemy. It's so good.
Yeah. It's once again the losing 1 action is still there, which
Yeah. Which
is unfortunate, but it's
Just do it
basically
last.
yeah, do it last or just look at the action you lose as a attack someone would have made.
I talk
right?
about sometimes like previous blinding light isn't bad, but like beyond the core set, there's other cards I'd rather play. And if I'm playing blinding light, it's not quite as severe as a switchblade, but it's mostly remind me that I would like to play the upgraded version.
Book of
But it's
Shadows.
real close.
Cost 4, 3 experience, brain in a book. You have 1 additional arcane slot. As an action exhausted, add 1 charge to a spell asset you control.
I see this card potentially being better, like good in the future, but right now I just think it just doesn't do quite enough for its cost. The 3 experience and like 4 money every time you play it, it's just not enough. If you want extra charge on your asset, you play like Akachi.
And also, and then realistically too, it's you can take better. If you just plan better, you won't need more charges on your spells more often than not.
Yeah, more like most of the time there aren't enough spells that stay in play right now that you want to have them play all the time.
Yeah, there aren't. I think a big part of this is that there isn't a shotgun type spell where it's just huge and has very few uses to it. So adding more uses to your spells, like why not just play another one?
Yeah, yeah.
It'll cost you something similar and
Also
fewer
commits
actions.
for 2 different symbols. It was 2 of the same symbols.
If it was 2 brain, then that's. It's not part of the core set, Travis.
Surely 5's like a shotgun.
Yeah, no, if it committed for 2 brain, I think this card becomes a lot better because you're not playing it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You're just playing it as extra copies of Guts.
Yeah.
It's one of those cards, like, even in a core, it's actually, like, while it's not great, as more expansions came out, it still, like, was even worse in the core set just because there weren't enough spells to have in play.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not enough reason to play it. Like, adding a charge to your spell asset is fine, but, like, the extra hand slot, or the extra arcane slot, which is, like, half the reason you're playing it, you don't use
Yeah,
it.
like
so.
most of your spells you just burn through in a couple of turns and then you play a new spell. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Next card is one that is really, really, really good.
Really good.
Really,
Really good. Like, so 2 cost, 4 experience, wild symbol, but don't. Uses 4 charges. If
Yeah.
it has no charge, discard it. When you reveal chaos token, spend 1 charge, reveal 2, and choose 1.
yeah, that seems real strong.
Like,
Anytime the game gives you an option to beat the red token,
You know who puts extra charges on things that use charges? Akachi.
man, that's what we should do next. I think that'd be a fun one. An Akachi,
Charges deck?
yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, I mean, the obvious thing for her, but, like,
maybe
This card is so good.
Yeah, like it seems like it's everything you want to be doing.
if they didn't want to put, I mean, like, I understand they didn't put any 5 experience cards in the core set, but this is like, I mean, it'd be weak for, it wouldn't be as good as some of the other 5 experience
No.
cards, but, like, it's a contender.
but it's still good.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah, like it's
The
just
game cheats you a lot, and it feels good to be able to cheat it back.
it's like it's also to me very reasonably priced. 2 resources for that effect
Yeah.
is
It does take up a hand slot, which is something, but like as the
Yeah.
as a
As a-
spellcaster, you
as
don't
a
really
mystic,
yeah,
you're
you
more
don't
concerned
really,
with the
Because
arcane slots a bit
you
more.
can't play
But
it if you're not purple.
Yeah.
At least right now, there are no characters who have access to cards.
Norman Withers is
Fucking
technically a
Norman
yellow
Withers.
character.
there was a
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, you got me.
Yeah, you should upgrade your
buy
cards
this.
with grotesque statue. It's
Get
really
this
good.
card.
It's
It's
not
a-
flashy, but it's good.
It's a good and then like that's the thing when you read it the first time you're like okay that's neat, but then when you really start
Yeah.
playing you're like oh that's incredible.
Yeah.
As you repeatedly get like wrecked by the game, drawing you the red token, you're like, nah, I wish this would never happen again.
Yeah,
and it doesn't
won't.
have to.
It doesn't. It just stops.